Well, so for Virgin Atlantic, this has been an incredible journey because I first met Shai just about 5 years ago, right as he became CEO of Virgin Atlantic. And we took a picture together in the middle of a heart where he was proudly standing as the only five-star airline in the United Kingdom, and he felt as a CEO that he had so much further to go. He had a vision for Virgin Atlantic that brought back the airline that loves its passengers, that is passionate about its experience, that makes flying sexy and fun. And watching him take that start 5 years ago and run into the most difficult of scenarios for a long-haul carrier, which is COVID stopping our world, he was able to take that, persevere, and really continue to build an incredible team and momentum, products that we've seen unveiled. But there was one awkward partner relationship. In 2020, right as we're at the beginning of COVID, I had the privilege of informing Shai and his team, congratulations, you are the best airline in all of Europe, according to over 1 million votes from TripIt. He says, Joe, we're so deeply honored, but we can't share that right now. It's inappropriate during COVID. And I was like, wow, okay, that's very humble of you. And then again, it was that kind of positive response in a moment where they could have gone to the world and said, hey, we're proud of this. They're saying, we want the world to be ready. So now, as Shai comes on stage today, we held off for all of you that received awards for our different Passenger Choice Awards. We held off for 2 today that we're going to give out, but I'm about to announce a 3-in-1. Our friends at Virgin Atlantic have been, not only everyone's seen them as a 5-star airline for years, they have been the best airline in Europe as voted by over 1 million passengers across 600 airlines worldwide for 3 years in a row. So we are unveiling that today. A huge round of applause, please, for CEO Virgin Atlantic, Shai Weiss. Let's get a picture together, my friend. Please, this is yours. Very good. I think we'll leave this up front so that you and I can be comfy as we talk together. So Shai, you have been on quite the journey. What has been your secret in keeping advancing forward through the most difficult of times?
I don't think we have a secret for that, but well, many people here are everyone here is tied to aviation, so you've all been through the ringer over the past 2 to 3 years. And first of all, congratulations for everyone making it to 2023. And I think, during the pandemic, we had a very clear mission. We said that it was very clear. We wanted to make sure that Virgin Atlantic survives the pandemic and that we saved as many jobs as we could. That was it. And that mission statement really united our team. Everybody started to work. We would do the things that everybody's used to. But that singular message united us, and the team did a phenomenal job in making sure, against the odds, and I would say against the odds, we're the only airline, I think, of the major airlines that didn't get any government support. So no government support, no bankruptcy, and yet we allowed ourselves to emerge, and I would say we've emerged stronger than we were before the pandemic. Of course, we owe a lot of money, which we will pay back, but the airline is in a very good position thanks to the heroic efforts of our amazing team.
It's really incredible. And just 2 months ago, I was really honored to be with you in London as you officially joined SkyTeam. So that's quite a milestone. Tell me about the decision-making process and what that has brought to Virgin Atlantic at the outset.
Yeah, so, I've been asked about alliances I've been with Virgin Atlantic for over a decade, but, Virgin Atlantic in general has been asked about alliances from day one. And the answer was always no. We'd like to be our own person. Our style is very unique. But as we built the partnership with Delta, as Air France and KLM and us joined into a joint venture across the Atlantic, $13 billion of revenues across the Atlantic. And with Delta and Air France and KLM being such strong partners of SkyTeam, and the lens is always the customers. 1,000 destinations, 750 lounges, reciprocal earn and burn, elite recognition, and on it goes. When somebody asked me, okay, what is the reason for us not joining SkyTeam, we ran out of ideas. So we joined SkyTeam on the 2nd of March.
That's great.
That was it, yeah.
So in terms of that, has it been helpful? I know that so much of your IT infrastructure with Delta as an investor, for example, the app, when I go from Delta to Virgin Atlantic, it's seamless because it's built on the same type of architecture. Has joining SkyTeam helped accelerate that for you?
Well, not yet. This is still early stages of that. But I think what you'll see is when we, actually in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be announcing a few new routes. You'll see that there is a method to the choice of some of these destinations, which has to do with SkyTeam. But it's really all about the consumers. And indeed, SkyTeam has deep technology, which could be the unifying factor and making it much more seamless between the carriers, using that as the kind of the gateway, the portal between all of us. We, of course, use Delta's technology. Deltamatics frame for us is called Air 4. So we're really well integrated with Delta. I think it's probably the deepest joint venture out there, and we're doing the same with Air France KLM and hope to do that with a cohort of, I think it's 17 airlines or 18 airlines in SkyTeam.
Well, as you talk about new routes, congratulations this week on your return to China with the return of going into Shanghai, I believe just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Are you excited about the return of the Chinese market?
So would you believe that we have not flown, so we started flying to China on 1st of May. And prior to that, that route has been shut down for 859 days. That's UK to China. This is not a small trip without consequence. So this was a big deal. Yeah, we're super excited. Actually, you, our Chief Commercial Officer, is right now with the team in China. I think we're the first carrier to really make a splash on entering back into Shanghai, into China. Yeah, it's a major milestone for us. Like I said, 859 days. As an anecdote, the UK-US border was shut down for 603 days. And we all did this dual takeoff in Heathrow with another company, which today I will not name.
They're here, so you can.
It's okay. We respect them. And but on the 8th of November 2021, we opened together the border. So 603 days. So I think this is the last of the things that we have not flown that we're starting to fly. And I can say that we're proud to say that our network is up and running in its full force, and of course growing as we take delivery of planes. And A350 GV Bob, really in recognition and honor of Bob Marley, arrived yesterday.
That's wonderful. Well, speaking of new aircraft and unveilings, your 330 Neos, which I adore, the new suite and suite retreat that you have on board. You're very excited about that. I love that as a new deployment. What has been the customer, how receptive have customers been to that? And I viewed the suite retreat as being so popular. I was wondering how you were going to hold that back, because if you let me purchase it super early and pay an upcharge, I'd be first in line. So it must be difficult.
You're not going on staff travel?
I'm not going on staff travel. I'm paying revenue, my friend.
Thank you very much. Revenue. We like that. So the A339neo indeed is probably the manifestation of many years. If you look at our genesis over the past decade, 787s, the A350s, and now the A339neos, and they are not just more efficient than the A330s, the classics that they're replacing, but they are really cutting edge, whether it is, I think, a 13-inch screen in the back, which is larger than the upper class when we launched upper class screens. Just to set the scene for this, we have wireless charging, USB-C charging, and the retreat suite. The retreat suite is in our upper class. Basically, it's two adjacent seats that you can actually open up into a foursome. and have a family lunch, a business meeting, and of course it has supersized screen, supersized bed, supersized everything. Of course, it's only one per plane. We only have 5 of the A339s right now, so it's hard to sell a lot of them, but we will have 16 to 20 A339s over the next 2 to 3 years. But what I think about the plane is really not important. We run a very religious, and I think one of our guys who runs it over the years is here, Miles. We run a religious satisfaction score. We have all the details, inbound, outbound, type of cabin, time of day of, if you're traveling from here to the US or from the US back in terms of Net Promoter Score. And a new plane always scores highest, but it very quickly decays to the average. This one is staying top of the leagues by a long mile, and it should be. The passengers simply like it, and it has the features that make Virgin Atlantic, including a social space, where you can actually hold a meeting, present onto a screen, take your own drinks, and just relax, so you're not just confined to your seat. Social space, a bar at Virgin Atlantic is one of the features that sets us apart, and people have always asked, would you take it off? Would you keep it on? It's staying on. It will always stay on. And I think we've got more innovations on that. But the A339, we're super pleased with it, and customers absolutely love it.
Well, it's so iconic when you come on board. And the one thing that I tell airlines, since lie flat seats first came online in business class about just over 20 years ago.
We invented that, remember?
Yes. I like to think so. And yes. Now, the one thing that I advised airlines, I said it took 20 years for all airlines to get to lie flat. But now I believe that suite doors, I think within a decade, if you don't have them, it'll be a problem. This need for privacy is very unique. Have you seen such a love for your new suites and retreat suites where if the Net Promoter Scores of the passenger feedback is so positive, where you would look for an accelerated deployment like that?
No, first of all, the retreat suite has to be confined to a very specific space. Remember, we don't have a first class. We don't need it. We don't believe it, and the planes don't. It's not who we are. We are a premium brand.
Yes.
We say our upper class these days is as good as a first class.
Yes.
But I'm actually going to be a bit contrarian. At the end of the day, there's a nuclear war on an armament on planes, and we, of course, we're at the forefront of this. Our fleet is the youngest across the Atlantic, under 7 years. We've reduced CO2 because of that, over 35% over the past decade. The NEOs, replacing the classics 330s, are 11% more efficient. So we think that that's essential. But actually, our differentiator is not the plane. Our differentiator is our people.
Yes.
And you said about the privacy and how people enter. I think you know this, but I operated as cabin crew on January the 10th this year. I operated the VS-45 in uniform. Other than safety, I'll tell another story about that later. And with me was a young cabin attendant named Beth. And every single person who came on board, she had something special to say. And she would say, your shoes are super cool. You have a beautiful necklace. If it was a group of 2 or 3, they would say, oh, you're following the leader. If it was somebody that absolutely just wanted to go to their seat, you've done this before. And that eases everybody onto our flights. So yeah, we have beautiful planes, and we keep them clean and efficient, and the food is fantastic, and on it goes. At the end of the day, the secret sauce that sets us apart is the people we have at Virgin Atlantic. And 20 years ago, that was ridiculed, right? People, hey, who needs people, right? We've got automation and personalization and this and that. At the end of the day, that is our competitive advantage. They go the extra mile. They are empowered to make a difference. If there is somebody in economy that they know, based on our systems, that are celebrating, I don't know, a big birthday or a wedding anniversary or so, just something cool, they can open up a bottle of champagne despite the fact it's not in our manual. And that's, for me, much more important than the kit. The kit is very important, but it's the people.
Oh, I agree. The hard product is really your people are so exceptional. It's one of the things I really love about my Virgin Atlantic flights is just the level of warmth that's shown. And then the other thing I admonish all other airlines on transatlantic is you're the only airline that consistently provides touches up front in each class of service. But the one that's most unique to me is you're the only airline that will do a flight leg of 6-7 hours and provide pajamas,
Yeah.
which I know is
Iconic pajamas.
It's
Yes.
iconic, and it's really the little things, especially in the human touch, make such a big difference. What do you think is going to be Virgin Atlantic's key differentiating factor in terms of building the customer experience of tomorrow? You are at the top of your game, you're best airline in Europe, and you're constantly striving to be better. So what's the better for you, Shai?
So Joe, I think when you announce the best airline in the world, that's where we're going for, okay? Our vision is very clear, is to be the most loved travel company. But actually, I think it's the intersection between, and there's no surprise here, so I'm not saying something new, but it's all about the execution. So taking the reams and reams of data, converting them into insights, and converting those insights into a personalized service. I'll give an example. When you come into our clubhouse at Heathrow, world-renowned, award-winning clubhouse, we shouldn't be asking you if it's the first time you've been there, if you know where you are. To the contrary, we should say we know this is your perfect seat, and we know that's what you love to drink, and we know you're a vegetarian, and we know that your flight is coming up and it's a bit delayed. We apologize for that, but this is what we can do in the interim period. So it's the intersection between the data, the personalization, and the insights, and the journey itself, and translating all of that into moments of magic, we call it.
Yes.
Whether it was, in the past, it was the simple stuff, the ice cream after the movie, the popcorn ahead of the movie, the pajamas, in the back, the children's kit, things like that matter, but we should now do it on a one-to-one ratio rather than one-to-many.
I agree with you entirely. One of the things that I think is such an opportunity for airlines is to remember you for the individual that you are. The fact that I use the Virgin Atlantic app, and I tend to like a gin and tonic, and I tend to like a vegetarian meal, as you say. Like, it's so great when airlines remember you as an individual. One of the things our friends at Delta recently have done is Delta Sync. Since you're so tied together with Delta and implementing philosophies, is that a vision that you intend to build upon to go even further when you say remembering people for who they are?
Absolutely. And Delta, of course, are leading the way in the United States, and they've really used their platform, their IFE, their loyalty program with American Express as an entry point and an exit point for their passengers, and we'll do the same. But I'll give it another example. We do now what we call pre-order, pre-select. It's good for the environment in the sense that you tell us what you want to eat rather than us walking around the cabin and asking you if you want chicken or pasta, right? That sounds a bit archaic to me, that question in itself, rather than, oh, this is what you ordered, we have it for you, and maybe you want to spend a bit more money and making it special. You want a special drink. So yes, the Delta Sync approach is the right one. All airlines will do this. The differentiating factor will not be the vision, it will be in the execution.
Yes.
That's going to be the determining factor in airlines. They're complicated beasts, as you all know, and we differ in the relentless and maniacal focus on details.
That's really a nice way to go. And one other area you're deeply focused on is in sustainability.
Yep.
For Virgin Atlantic, it's not only hitting 2050 goals, it's hitting 2030 goals where you want it to be 10% sustainable aviation fuel that you're using by that time. You already have such a more efficient fleet. Are you going to be able to hit those objectives? And what do you think resonates most with your customers when it comes to sustainability?
Well, I know that I heard you say that, I'll start with the end. I heard you say that, of course, customers think about the things that impact them. Sustainable, for example, the waste on board, the plastics or the no plastics, we've reduced our plastics by 90% and we can do more. How you tow the planes, the things that are visible to customers. Do you have plastics? For instance, we took, our blankets are not in plastics, they're covered with a paper wrap rather than plastic, and that's a trivial point. So they value a lot what they can see, but they also don't want to be greenwashed, and they don't want to be, kind of educated by us. So we're doing all of that. Earlier this year, we won a competition in the United Kingdom. We are going to fly the world's first ever 100% sustainable aviation fuel flight between the UK and London. Let me just cancel that, yes. And we're very proud of that. That'll be the first time it's ever been done. Now, are we going to get to 10% 2030 sustainable aviation fuel? It's not going to be an easy ride. The scale up required in the world from here until 2030 is 100 times. So if you look at capacity in production of sustainable aviation fuel in the world today, it's 1% of the 10% that is required. So a scale up of 100 times just to get to 10%. That's not trivial. I have a long-standing kind of exchange of ideas with our government in the United Kingdom. I think they should be doing more. The US has just introduced the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA. The Europeans have taken a big, big stance forward. And I'm hoping that our government sees this as a great opportunity to promote production of native to the UK sustainable aviation fuel. Now, we're already buying it. We are buying about 6,000 tons, and we're buying more and more and more. It's more expensive. It's going to be shared between us and corporations and like-minded customers and agencies. But this is a big, big challenge. It's not entirely trivial how you get from here to there, but we're fully committed to it.
Well, and there's so much in the UK between airport fees and taxes by the government. There's so much put on the back of the airline. I really wish, it's always putting your money where your mouth is, and for the UK government to really say, you know what, it's so important that we invest ahead of the curve, that we take all of this money we're getting in taxes and applying it towards sustainable aviation fuel rather than just increasing airport fees, for example.
Unfortunately, they don't see eye to eye with your statements. In the UK, in London, and in our government, taxes coming in from aviation are for the better good of the society. So our argument that taxes originating from aviation, by the way, there is mandates and more, and buying ETSs and many, many other things. The notion is that money coming in from aviation into the treasury pool is then fungible. It goes to everything else. And that argument has yet to be won. But I think if the UK wants to lead from the front, it will have to take a page out of the book in the United States and in Europe, and basically, together with industry, not just government, do stuff, and I call this radical collaboration, to really make a dent in sustainability in aviation, which is one of the 7 hard-to-abate industries in the world. Chemicals, shipping, cement, and others are included. Not one player, I'm calling aviation a player, can do this on their own.
No, aviation is not green. We all have an obligation to make it greener and greener, but having the governmental level support is critical. I hope they follow the US example, as you said, Shai. Final question, you're a half-decade in as CEO of Virgin Atlantic. Take me a full decade forward. Where is Virgin Atlantic a decade from now?
Let me start with Arsenal, okay? A decade from now, we would have won the Premiership at least once. I mean, that's the most important thing, just to put it out there. But a decade from now, we've set ourselves a vision of being the most loved travel company, and we know it's almost unachievable. And by the way, the only way to measure who's the most loved travel company is to ask travelers, holidaymakers, business people. So the vision is there. And I can only say that I hope that in 10 years' time, a decade from now, we will be very close to becoming the most loved travel company. That's where I start. But in many ways, we'll be, by then, 10% sustainable aviation fuel. We'll have probably 50 to 55 beautiful planes flying out of Heathrow and Manchester, 60 or 70% to the United States, Caribbean, and of course the global cities where our partners operate. full of amazingly happy people serving fantastic customers and sustainably profitable. You know, we need to get to profitability that has been eroded through the pandemic, and like I said, we're getting closer and closer. But the vision is exactly as we talked about, the most loved travel company. We should be inching closer and closer to this unbelievable target for Virgin Atlantic.
Here's to being the most loved travel company. Shai, congratulations.